Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We have a small but mighty group here today. I'm excited to talk with you guys all about your resumes and interviewing. So we're going to, I think we had another person just join. I'm going to go ahead and let them get in, and then we will jump into it. Um, I will be recording this presentation today, just letting you guys know. So you're gonna get that little pop-up soon. Oh, got a couple more people coming in. Good deal. Good deal. Okay, well, welcome everybody to our presentation from paper to performance, mastering resumes and interviews. Resumes, interviews, they're kind of the bread and butter of career coaching. So we want to help you guys learn all about how's the best way for you guys to create a resume. What needs to be on that resume. And then finally, when you get into that interview, what exactly do you need to say? Most of us, we do not practice these things. We don't prepare for them until we are 2 days away from the interview, and we're scrambling to get prepared. So really proud of you guys for taking the time to learn all about these things. You guys are really setting your futures up to be successful. So we'll go ahead and just jump into it. So just to kind of start off, I want to introduce myself. My name is Katie Rains. I am a recruiter and career coach for our Reskill Arkansas IT training program. And I'm joined with Miss Jenny Sales. She is a recruiter for our advanced energy program here. And she is going to just be helping me with any questions that you guys have. So be sure to, pop any questions you have in the chat, and we will get to them at the end of our presentation. I want to just also highlight a few friendly faces that you guys might see here at ACDS. So we have Miss Ashley French. She is the Director of Talent Acquisition here at ACDS. We also have Miss Amanda Champlin, who is our Program Manager over our Work-Based Learning Internship Program. Next, we have Miss Nicole Parsons. She's a recruiter for our apprenticeship program. And finally, our newest addition to the team, Miss Elise Long. She is a recruiter also working with Amanda for our internship program. So if this is your first time here at a webinar with ACDS, I want to just give you a brief summary about who we are and what we do. We are a nonprofit really dedicated to helping increase top talent in IT and other industries through the apprenticeship model. We work with companies that are small, companies that are large, across many different industries to help facilitate apprenticeship programs. And currently we have three main programs that are under the ACDS umbrella. First being the Reskill Arkansas program, which is a training program that provides free technical training in IT. We also have our work-based learning internship program, which is a paid position with one of our company partners. So essentially, it is a temporary position. Usually they're going to be 3 months long. They are paid, like I said, so $15 an hour. Normally those are going to be full-time positions. And we see a really high success rate of people getting offered full-time permanent positions at these companies. So I think right now we're hovering around 90% of a conversion rate to permanent positions. So really great place for people to get their foot in the door and get that initial experience that they need. And then finally, we have our apprenticeship program, which is really the kind of star of the show at ACDS, what we're really known for. And essentially, apprenticeships are permanent positions. For your first year, though, you're considered an apprentice. And all that really means is that you get extra on-the-job training. So it's 144 hours of continued education that is within the field that you're in. And then you'll also have a mentor for your first year as well. And it's really just to ensure that you have all the support you need for successful transition into your new position. So yeah, that's just a little bit about us and what we do here. But let's go ahead and get into the meat of our presentation today. So first, starting off, we're going to talk a little bit about your resumes. Resumes really should be a reflection of you. And if you go on YouTube, Google, anywhere, you're going to see that everybody has their own opinion on resumes and what needs to be on them. I'm here to tell you that we've seen many different types of resumes, and we want to just tell you guys what we've seen has been the most successful types of resumes who have helped candidates get through that applicant tracking system and all the way until they get an interview, because that's really the whole point, right? We want to get you to the place where you get an interview. So let's first just talk about the basics. Firstly, recruiters are talkers. We're not readers. What we really do is we're mostly scanning your resume. So the key to a really good resume is to make it as easy to read as possible and to have the best odds of being selected for an interview. So an important part of creating an effective resume is choosing that right format to tell your story with. You really need to structure your resume in a way that's going to show your transferable skills and experience. This way you can show that you have the right skills, even if you haven't had that job title yet, or maybe you have some gaps in your employment. So let's go over a little bit about your formatting. We really want to have one column, easy to read, no images. So let's go ahead and keep your as beautiful as you all are, let's go ahead and keep your photos off your resume. It can sometimes, couple things, cause issues with the applicant tracking system when you're uploading your resume to a website, but also can kind of be an issue with HR. I've seen hiring managers straight up throw a resume out because they had that photo, just because they didn't want to get in trouble possibly for bias. So let's just go ahead and keep your photos off for now, and once they see you in the interview, they'll get a chance to see your beautiful smiling faces. Let's also limit our use of colors. So we want a max of 2 pages, or sorry, we want a max of like maybe 2 different colors. So I'm thinking like maybe blue, like a dark blue, something you see kind of right here, and black. But let's not get too crazy. Let's limit from like neon, things like that. As fun as they are, it just kind of helps us be able to read a bit better. And then finally, a max of 2 pages. So like I said, we are scanners. Recruiters are scanners. We're not readers. So we really need to try and condense down our resumes to being max of those 2 pages. If you find yourself going more than 2 pages, we really need to take a look at your resume and see, is this resume tailored for the job that you're applying for? And if not, then let's start, really just focusing on those transferable skills and experiences that are going to help show that you're a good fit for that position. So next, let's talk a little bit about your sections. And let me see here if I can go, here we go. So let's talk a little bit about the sections that need to be in your resume, starting with your contact information. Arguably, this is going to be the most important part of your resume, because even if you're the most qualified person in the world, it's really not going to matter much if you misspell your email and the recruiter can't contact you. Trust me, I'm saying this because I've learned from experience here, so learn from my mistakes. So here's what you want to include in your contact section. First name, last name. This might be, seem straightforward to a lot of people, but if you go by a nickname, then use that on your resume. Really, what we want to do is we want to make sure that you're consistently using the name that you go by on all platforms. So basically, what do you have on LinkedIn? For example, my legal name is Caitlin, but everybody who knows me in the professional world knows me by Katie. My LinkedIn is Katie, my Facebook is Katie, Instagram is Katie. So I put that on my resume because that's what people know me by. Next, you want to put your phone number. Make sure to include your country code if you're applying outside of the country. That's important. And then your email address. So we want something professional, like Katie period Rains at gmail.com. Sweetie Bear 23 at Hotmail, it's not going to be the best option for you to use for your resume. Trust me, I've seen some pretty funny ones. We really want to ensure that the recruiter or the hiring manager easily can identify who is emailing them, but also just, you know, in the professional world, you want to have a professional email. Puts your, you know, best foot forward. It's just best to have something that is easily identifiable and professional. Next, you want to put your location. So the company needs to know if you're located in the area that you're applying for the job, or if you're open to relocation. There's really no need to include your street address. Just go ahead and put your city, your state, and the area that you're open to relocating. Bonus points though, if you can include your LinkedIn profile or GitHub. Usually this is a really good way to attract the recruiter's attention and give them just a bit more insight into the professional that you are. Definitely make sure that your LinkedIn profile is updated and offers something more than just regurgitated information outside of your resume. And then once you're done, we want to recommend that you double check, even triple check everything. You really don't want to miss your chances of landing a job opportunity just because of a typo. So look over it, have your family member look over it, make sure that that contact info is perfect. Now let's go to the next section, which is your summary and objective. This is usually going to be found right underneath that contact information. So let's unpack a formula that's really compelling for your resume summary. I want you guys to think of this as like your 30-second elevator pitch that gives a recruiter a snapshot of your professional journey. So here's how to really make it resonate with a recruiter. First, we want to talk a little bit about our job title or our profession. It really starts off by defining who you are. So are you a software engineer? Or maybe have you been a senior customer service representative? Next thing that you can do is add your years of experience. So this really establishes your credibility. So for example, we have 7+ years of working and leading a call center team. Next, I want to really like zero in on some skills that you have. So maybe these are more of like soft skills. Maybe it's like a few hard skills that really pertain to that job that you're applying to. Maybe they're kind of like your superpower skills. So perhaps you're great at customer relations or team management. This is a really good time for you to highlight that skill. And then next is going to be your career goals and preferences. So what is it that you're looking for? Are you looking to start a career in IT? Maybe you're doing a career change. Maybe you're trying to upskill into maybe from like a junior web developer to, you know, maybe something, a more senior role. And then finally, I want you to include any relocation, you know, any preferences that you have or flexibility that might be good for a recruiter to know. For example, if you live in, let's say, Southern Arkansas, and you're applying for a job that you know is going to be located in Northwest Arkansas, put that you're open to relocating in that area. If not, a recruiter might see, oh, El Dorado, man, that's going to be quite a commute. I'm not even going to bother, you know, talking to this candidate. When you might be very well open to that relocation. Maybe you're looking to move up there. So definitely make sure that you're communicating that in your resume. So, for example, I want to show you kind of how this all ties together. So it can say something along the lines of senior customer service representative with 7+ years of experience in a call center, skilled in customer relations and team leadership, looking to start an IT career and open to relocation in Central or Northwest Arkansas. So there you have it. It's a really great, I like to say kind of like a formula. It's concise and it's comprehensive, and it really gives recruiters exactly what they need to know. And I also have to say, and I'm going to say this quite a few times during this presentation, I like to kind of add these formulas in different like chat GPT like software and help me create them, because sometimes it's really hard to find the words that you're looking for. It's a tool, guys. Utilize it as a tool. It's not cheating. This is really just trying to make sure that you are as concise as possible, that you're not taking up too much, space on your resume, and also that you're really conveying what you want to convey. Okay, so let's move on to the skills and work experience. So the skills summary section, guys, this is a must-have. You really do need it for any resume, especially if you're somebody who is a career changer. When it comes to your skill section, this is going to be like the golden ticket really for your resume. Really, what most recruiters want to know is, can you do the job that the job description is asking for? Do you have the skills? So we really want you guys to list skills that are appropriate and relevant to the job that you're applying for. So for example, a data analyst is better off highlighting their experience with machine learning rather than their video editing skills. But before we create our skill section, we really need to find out what the job is targeting. What skills are they targeting? So you can do this by first scanning job postings. Most job postings are going to include that list of requirements of skills they expect a good candidate to have. Most of these are probably going to be technical skills, especially if you're going into IT, technical, so programming languages, data visualization, and there's probably going to be some soft skills on there too, like communication or creativity. Soft skills are great, but the main attraction of your resume should really highlight those job relevant hard skills. Ideally, your skill summary will only include soft skills if it's like legit your superpower. So maybe communication is your superpower. At the end of the day, though, technical skills, they're going to add more value to your resume. And if you find yourself having an imbalance of soft skills rather than hard skills or those technical skills, don't worry. This is a good time for you to look and see, okay, what exactly do I need to learn in order to make a successful transition? And you guys, if you are struggling to figure out, what courses do I need to take? What skills do I need to learn? Be sure to, shameless plug here, be sure to apply to our reskill program though. We offer many different courses to help you guys gain those technical skills that you need. Okay, so next let's talk a little bit about your work experience. So work experience really should be highlighting all of the relevant transferable experience that is going to relate to the job that you're applying for. Some things that I really like is when people bullet point things, make it kind of short and concise. I also want to really show off your most recent experience. So everything from the past 8-10 years that's relevant. So for example, my very first job, I worked as a stalker for Little Debbie's company. I would go and stalk the Little Debbie's food up. I kept that off when I started applying for my professional roles. Now, when I was first getting in the industry, when I was first just trying to get roles, get positions, get my work experience, I kept that on there because it showed some type of experience. It showed that I had been working there. I think I worked there for 2 years altogether. So I did want to show that at the time, but as I grew in my professional life, those roles started falling off of my resume, and that's perfectly fine. We don't need to put every single role that you've had. We want to really focus on the most relevant roles. What is a role that shows transferable skills, transferable experience that's going to apply to the new role that you're applying for. Another little thing, and this is kind of a little particular, be mindful of the tense in your resume. So if it was in the past, use past tense. Present, use present tense. Me personally, I was an English major, and it doesn't actually bother me too much, but I've heard some wild stories of HR managers throwing out a whole resume because it had the wrong tense on there. If you guys need any help to make sure that it is in the right tense, pop that thing into ChatGPT. You know, it'll quickly scan it and it'll fix that for you. You know, not all of us were English majors, and so, you know, if you need any help with it, you know, use the tools that you can. They're out there for you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your education and training. This section of your resume is really going to help highlight what you've been doing to work towards, whether it's this career change or maybe it's you know, you want to go up in a position. It's going to really highlight what you've been doing to get there. Now we all know degrees are still very important, but let's also not forget about certifications, especially nowadays. I can't speak highly enough of these more micro certifications or maybe Google certifications. They're really all the rage right now, and they're really great, especially if you're thinking of switching careers. I want you guys to kind of think of these certifications as like a golden ticket. It screams, hey, I am serious about this new path. Here's all the work that I've been doing to get here. Plus, it really shows you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk, and that you've put in that time and work to get started. Quick heads up though, only list certifications that are actually relevant to the job that you're applying for. So although your salsa dancing skills might be off the charts, they're probably not what a hiring manager is wanting for, let's just say, an accounting role. And hey, don't just drop the certificate title and move on, okay? We want to really dig a bit deeper and mention the key areas or skills that you've mastered through that certification. So for example, if you're taking the data analytics certification through Google, you can really highlight those key skills like data cleaning, data visualization. If there was any programming, maybe you learned some R programming in there. It's a great time to highlight those skills that you developed through that certification. Because a recruiter might not know exactly what was in that specific certification. There's a data analytics certification, there's advanced data analytics. They might not know what that means. So go ahead, help them out, and highlight those key skills that you've been developing. Okie dokie. So we made it through the first round of, you know, the first hurdle, getting that resume through. You got it through the applicant tracking system, and now you got offered an interview opportunity. So let's talk a little bit about what you need to know before going into an interview. Let me tell you, acing an interview is really all about the prep work. First off, you've got to know what the company does. Dig into their website, their LinkedIn, any news articles that you can find. A quick Google search will really tell you a lot about a company. And the more that you know, the better you can link your skills to their needs. Plus, it really gives you an idea too about whether your values align with theirs, and if this is a good company culture fit for you. You know, remember that every job opportunity might not be the right job opportunity. I know for me, nonprofit has my heart. I don't really ever see myself going into a different type of industry. I love helping people, so I knew this job would be a really good role for me. Also, I want you guys to not forget about your interviewers. A bit of a LinkedIn deep dive can really give you an insight into their background and interests, and this can kind of help tailor your communication to them directly and make that conversation more engaging. Also, you want to know, you know, who might I be working with potentially? So really great idea to just do your research. Hold on, I'm gonna get myself a little drink of water. Okay, so next up, let's talk about your answers. This is a really good time to spend some time hunting down questions online and coming up with a killer response. I really want you guys to write down your some answers and some questions. I want you to say them out loud. I want you to get comfortable with them. And when you're structuring your answers, I want you to consider using the STAR method. We're going to go into this deeper later on, so no need to start Googling it right now, but I want you guys to keep it in the back of your mind because it's such a great way to formulate your answers to these questions recruiters are asking. So let's talk about the job description next. This is really a gold mine of information. The employer is telling you exactly what it is that they're looking for, so use it to your advantage. You can tailor your responses to show that you're the perfect fit. Keep an eye out, especially for any specific keywords or maybe phrases that are repeated throughout that job description, and try to sprinkle those into your answers. It's really going to be like music to your recruiter's ears and really be like, oh, give me more. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So let's go on to kind of the practical stuff now, though. And I'm about to go into mom mode for a minute, so just bear with me. The night before your interview, I want you guys to choose what you're going to wear. Have it all laid out. Trust me, this is a lifesaver. It's going to save you from unneeded stress. Also, go ahead and have a few copies of your resume printed out, ready to go, and organize your essentials. So keys, wallet, phone. Those are the three things that you never leave your home without. Don't let the day of your interview be the day that you can't find that wallet. It really just kind of helps save yourself from that last minute scramble in the morning, and just really ensures that you're going to be nice and calm when you're going into that interview. So let's kind of touch on that, the importance of staying calm. It's really so important, not just for you because it makes you feel better, but it also shows the interviewers that you're confident. And trust me, us recruiters, we get just as nervous as you guys do at times. So whether it's meditation, exercise, reading, or just a good night's sleep, I want you guys to find what relaxes you and make the time for that. And remember, the interview is a conversation. It's not an interrogation. If it feels like an interrogation, it's probably because you aren't properly prepared for it. So make sure that you are doing this prep work beforehand. All right, so now let's dive into the world of in-person and virtual interviews. Because although they are very similar, there's a few key differences that can really make or break your interview. So first off, let's chat about our in-person interviews. These are those traditional face-to-face encounters that they might seem simple, but there's actually quite a bit to consider. First, let's talk about the logistics of it. Crucial piece of advice: know your route. Check out the interview location beforehand. I've literally driven to the place I'm going to be interviewing just so that way I can make sure, okay, where exactly is it that I need to go? I've gotten lost before, had to call the recruiter and let them know I was going to be 15 minutes late. And y'all, that was so embarrassing. And it did not show off professionalism from myself. So once again, learn from my mistakes, please. But making sure that you know your route, it not only helps you from getting lost, but it's going to help you calculate how much time you need to get there. Aim to arrive at least 10 minutes early. An interview is not a time where you want to think on time is on time. No, on time is late. Give yourself 10 minutes at least to catch your breath, review your notes, maybe do like a little Zen moment where you're kind of chilling out and getting in that interview mode. It also is going to help show your potential employer that you respect their time. So be sure to be on time. Now, here's a golden rule that many people forget. The interview starts long before you step into that interview room. So from the moment that you step out of your car, your interview has begun. When you're walking up to the building, hold the door open for anybody who you might come across. I want you guys to be friendly and polite to everyone, from the receptionist to anybody that you might share an elevator with, because these people might not be conducting your interview, but their impressions of you can absolutely influence that hiring decision. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard a hiring manager ask the receptionist, "Hey, what was that candidate like when they walked in?" So remember, you're not just being evaluated on your responses to the interview questions, but your overall demeanor as well. So now if you're in like the waiting room, maybe you've got to sit there for a few minutes before you interview, just a couple of little notes. It's best to stay off your phone during this time. It's not really just about politeness, but it's really about focus. You're about to go in that interview, and that's really where your attention should be. So instead, and trust me, I've got my phone all the time, and when I'm nervous or when I'm anxious, I'm scrolling. But instead of scrolling through social media, TikTok, any of that, let's use these final moments to really mentally review your prep work and just, breathe and stay calm. Now, once you're in the interview room, there's a few key points to remember. You're going to be dressed professionally. You're going to have those extra copies of your resume on hand. I want you guys to also show your enthusiasm through positive body language, maintain eye contact, and respond to the questions thoughtfully. When you're answering interview questions, it's not about rapid fire, how quickly can I get this out? It's fine to pause and take a moment after a question is asked to really reflect on that question. It's not just about answering when it's your turn to speak, but really genuinely engaging in conversation. And this really just doesn't just demonstrate your interest in the role, but also your ability to effectively communicate and be an attentive team member. So let's go ahead and shift gears then for a moment. And talk about virtual interviews, because they're kind of a different beast altogether. And they've become so much more popular and common during, the pandemic. And let me tell you, they're here to stay. First things first, let's talk about your tech setup. Make sure that you download and create an account for the platform that you're going to interview on, whether it's Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, or any other. Also, double check your camera, check your mic, check your internet connections ahead of time. Nothing really kills the flow of an interview faster than technical issues. So your environment really matters a lot in these interviews too. Your background, don't pay attention to my background. It's not the best example right now, but your background should be really tidy. Something plain and uncluttered is best. And don't forget that a lot of times, like Zoom, Google Meets, I'm not sure about the Microsoft Teams, but most of them have virtual backgrounds. So as long as you have a semi-clear background, you're more than welcome to pop that up. If maybe you don't have like the most Pinterest perfect background altogether, they've got that built in for you. Let's also remember that lighting is really important, so your interviewer can see you clearly. Avoid too much backlight from windows or bright lamps. If you're going to have lighting on, be sure it's kind of in front of you. Like I actually have a lamp. I wish you guys could see it. It's right in front of me, just to kind of help give me a little bit more light and make sure that my face is clear. Also, turn off anything that might create a distraction or different noises in your background, like a ceiling fan. Or if you're like me and you have a million pets, make sure that they're out of the room and the door is closed. Oh, gosh. If you guys have pets, you know what I mean. There's always a dog that's pawing at your door trying to get in. I love my puppy, but I have to keep him outside during webinars. Also, this is kind of like a pro tip, but you guys can absolutely have your resume and any other reference documents handy. And it's actually a lot easier during your virtual interviews because maybe you have a dual screen, one screen for the interview, one screen for your resume and other documents. It's just really a good idea to have these handy if you need to quickly refer to something during the interview, and just having it right there helps with unnecessary scrambling. Once again, it's not cheating. It's your resume. Just have it right there.
Hey, Katie.
Yes, ma'am.
I often will also keep the job description.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you very well, Jenny.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was just going to say I often will keep the job description posted next to my resume, or even carry it with me when I go into an interview so that I can always refer back to it. It'll give you an opportunity to really even at last minute when they start asking about a certain skill to see was that even on the list, and if not, then how am I going to answer that question? And like Katie was saying earlier, that pause, it's okay. I
Mhm.
promise you, pauses are good. So do remember that.
Mm.
Just want to share my pro tip.
That's great. And I like questions too. So like if you maybe want a little clarification, hey, can you clarify a little bit on this? Is this what you mean? Perfectly reasonable and just fine to ask that. In fact, I appreciate that because I know that means you really want to make sure that you're communicating effectively. So that's a great tip, Jenny. Um, okay, so kind of final thing when it comes to virtual interviews, just because it's virtual doesn't mean that you shouldn't dress professionally. So yes, even if they can't see your pajama bottoms, let's go ahead and make sure that we've got a nice top on. This might look like a pajama top. I swear it's not. I swear I bought this from like the business casual section in Target. But helping dress that part can really just kind of put your interviewer in the right mindset that, okay, this person is professional. They're dressed for success. They're dressed because they really they're here, they're present. Just because it's virtual doesn't mean it's an opportunity for you to wear whatever you want. Plus, I will say this, and I'm saying this also from experience. I actually like to put on some professional bottoms too, because you just never know when you might need to stand up to like close the door or something like that. And unless you're very quick and can turn off your camera quickly, you don't want to accidentally be caught up in your boxers. So just make sure that you're professionally dressed. It puts you in the right mindset and just helps convey that professionalism. Okay, need another sip, y'all. Mm. I'm telling you, these allergies, they've got me in a chokehold.
Ah, these
Whew,
fall allergies have been something else.
they sure have. Okay, so let's talk about one of the some of the questions you're probably going to get in an interview, and one of the most common and probably going to be your first question too that you're going to get is that "tell me about yourself" question. And y'all, I know this might seem really kind of easy, but it can be quite tricky if if you don't have that answer prepared ahead of time. So let's talk a little bit about what the interviewer is really looking for when they're asking that question. They're not asking for your life story, and they're not really interested in personal trivia. Maybe every once in a while, if you know the interviewer or know a little bit about them, you might put in like a cutesy little thing. But what you really want to do is make sure that you're answering a few different questions within this answer. So first, let's talk about your past. So start with your relevant experiences and past accomplishments. So where have you been? What have you been doing? And then your present. Share where you are right now in your career. Share if you're a career changer. This is a great opportunity for you to share that you've been taking the necessary steps to have that transition into your new career. So certifications, if you've had any mentorship, anything like that. Great opportunity to share that with the recruiter. And then finally, talk about where you're wanting to go. Basically, why are you here? Explain why you're excited about this position and how it aligns with your career goals. Um, and within that, like a follow-up question that you might get is probably, hey, tell me, why are you leaving your current role? Why are you looking to leave? And I know that this might be an opportunity where you feel like a little tempted to dive into any details of a toxic work environment. It's generally better to avoid any negativity. Instead, I want you guys to focus on your personal growth. This is really a great time for you to share, like, hey, I've been, developing these skills and I really want to grow into a position that maybe has more responsibility. It just kind of helps put the interviewer in a mindset of like, okay, this person, they're looking towards the future. They're not focused on the past. They're wanting to grow. And this is why they're wanting to grow. So maybe, you know, maybe just because you're leaving a job, because part of it is because it's toxic, we really, really just want to focus on that personal growth and future ambitions. Um, so let's think, how can we discuss reasons for leaving in a positive manner? So maybe instead of saying that you left due to a toxic work environment, you might say, I'm really grateful for the experience that I had in my previous role, and I learned so much. But I felt that it was time for me to seek out new challenges and further develop my skill set. And this seems like a really great opportunity that aligns with my career goals. This is just a really great way to emphasize that positivity, your desire to grow, take on new challenges, and then it really also, make sure that you're not dwelling on the negative. In general, it's really always best to try and frame your reasons for leaving within the context of your career trajectory, and especially that specific job that you're interviewing for. And I'll say this kind of as like, we live in Arkansas. I'm amazed at how small Arkansas is sometimes. Born and raised here, and y'all, I swear, every person I talk to, they know somebody in my family. And so kind of use that same idea when you're going into an interview and talking about your reasons for leaving a job position. You don't know who this recruiter knows. So frame everything in the context of positivity rather than anything negative. Okay, now moving on to another question you guys are probably going to get. That greatest strength and the greatest, your biggest weakness. I really feel like these two questions are particularly difficult for the candidates I work with who are transitioning into IT. I swear, if I ask them to walk me through something technical, it's no problem. They can start rambling off all the projects that they've done. But the moment that we get to talking about them, they freeze up and they forget everything about themselves. So I think the key to the strength or weakness question is really just about being genuine. The recruiter is trying to get to know you, not the Google version of you, not the ChatGPT version of you. This is one of those few times where I will say, let's not use those tools. Let's be genuine for a minute. So with the strength question, state your strength and then provide an example to back it up. Recruiters, we're naturally skeptical people, and we're always assuming things might be a bit exaggerated or fluffed. So being genuine with your answer is really going to go a lot further. And if you're not sure what your greatest strength is, ask a coworker, maybe a teacher or friend or family member, hey, what do you think comes easiest for me? What do you think that I do best and that I feel confident that I'm going to be able to do right every single time? Mm. And I know I really struggle with this because it's hard for me to be able to say what's good about myself, but a good sounding board is absolutely a coworker. Jenny knows. I've had to ask her, it's like, even just with writing a bio of myself, hey, Jenny, what do I do? What am I good at?
Right. I think we both do. I think that we're naturally accustomed to looking for our faults and how we can improve upon those faults and within ourselves. And so it is hard. So I always suggest you, and your mom's going to really be honest with you, but she probably is not going to be thinking about your work skills. So a coworker is really a great place to start. You can also go back and look at your previous reviews. If you've had 6 reviews and they all say that your greatest strength is your advanced Excel skills and, doing pivot point tables and charts. And, that might be an area that you really want to explore. Definitely take into consideration those previous, what are those called? Performance reviews. All of a sudden, I just got tongue-tied. One of my weaknesses.
That's a great one. I never even thought about using your performance reviews. I've got to dig through mine and see what my old boss has said. Wow, what a great resource, Jenny. On kind of like the opposite side of that, and the one that you might find a little easier time finding, because I know I can find like 5 things right off the top of my head that I consider to be my weaknesses.
Mhm.
But let's talk a little bit about that. How do you answer that question? Hey, what's your biggest weakness? This question, y'all, there's really, in my opinion, no real wrong answer to it. What a recruiter really wants to know is, what are you doing about that weakness?
Mhm.
For me, when I applied for my recruiter job with ACDS, I didn't have a background in IT. This was not an area that I had ever touched on, and so that I knew coming in would be, my knowledge of IT. And then, hey, how are you going to gain that knowledge? What are you doing to work on that? And so, hey, I've got recruiter books on IT specific recruiting. Joining different groups online to talk about how do you get into IT, but just showing, what it is that you're doing to work on that specific weakness. One of my biggest pet peeves, and I get this every once in a while, and it's not a trick question when we're asking you what your greatest weakness is. We really want to know. So one of my biggest pet peeves is saying, I don't really have a weakness.
Yeah,
Everybody has a weakness.
everybody, everybody.
This type of answer,
Right.
yeah, it just feels like you might be unprepared or maybe overly confident, which might mean that you're not coachable or teachable. It's kind of the same thing whenever we get the "I'm just too hard of a worker" answer. Just think about, what is something that causes you a headache at work? Maybe it's a task that you avoid because it takes you longer to complete. Or maybe it's something that you don't feel quite confident in yet. So like, for example, maybe it's public speaking or presenting to leadership, or maybe you just have a lack of hands-on experience with certain methodologies or frameworks. So whatever it is, just state, this is my key weakness and this is what I'm doing about it.
For instance, my huge weakness is I can't spell. My
Mm,
English is horrible and my grammar is horrible. And I'm a recruiter, but I've been doing it for over 25 years. And so when they ask me that question, that's the answer I give. But I also follow it up with, you know what? You spell check. I use Grammarly. I have a subscription, and I use my favorite people like Katie to help review things that I might, be struggling with. So you always want to give that weakness with a solution, like, what am I doing? And it's okay if you don't have the answer. What they're going to be looking for is, do you recognize it? And have you put a plan in place to do
mhm,
something about that? And, like Katie started and, didn't have the IT background, but guess what? Shortly after she did, because she was studying, she picked up the books, she got enrolled. Like she was forward thinking about how she was going to handle that. And so having that plan or having an action that can showcase why that weakness is taken care of and not going to be an issue is
mhm.
important. And also, sometimes your weaknesses can be a strength. And I think that that's one of the things that the recruiter is also looking for.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you're somebody who might not have the skill, but you're learning the skill, that's your strength right there. You're a student, you're a constant learner, and especially in something an industry like IT, you're going to be constantly learning. So definitely showcase, that's it's still a skill. Might be a weakness now. It's going to be a skill very soon, though.
Definitely, continued learner is a great skill to have.
Mhm. Okay, so the age-old question. Tell me about a time when, and guys, this is mostly going to be like behavioral style questions. So maybe it's, tell me about a time when you had to work with a difficult coworker. Maybe it's, tell me about a time when you received a project but didn't get all the details for it. But the great thing about it is, if you hear this phrase, a recruiter is really looking for an answer that's using that STAR method. So remember when I said put that in the back of your brain? STAR method. This is a formula that you guys can use in order to answer these questions in a way that recruiters are going to be able to understand every single time. So the formula is situation, task, action, and then result. So the situation, it really sets the stage and it introduces us to the situation. Keep in mind, this is our first time talking to you, and I don't know everything about your background experience. You have to tell me everything that you want me to know. So setting the stage is going to help us keep up with your story and better understand the importance of it. Next is going to be your task. Why did this need to be done? What was it that needed to be done? What was that task at hand? And then next is going to be the action. Explain the action that you specifically took. So I don't want to hear about your coworkers or your friend, what they did. I want you guys to focus on you. This interview is about you. I'm not interviewing them. So tell me all those good, juicy details and how you fixed the task at hand. And then finally, that result. So don't leave us hanging. I don't want a cliffhanger. What happened? Was the task resolved? Did you get an, I don't know, an A on test? Tell me a little bit about the result though. What happened at the end? The great thing about the STAR method is that as a recruiter, it's easiest for us to understand things in a story format. And I say just as not just as recruiters, just as humans in general. I learn best whenever I learn something in a story. I don't work best out of a textbook because just trying to read something and understand it's not the best way for me. That's why I like things like TikTok, short little stories that kind of help me understand, okay, how do I do this? Or, explain, maybe a part of history to me. Love like little history movies, things like that. But it's because it's in a story format. I'm telling you guys, the STAR formula, it's the best way for you to tell a story to a recruiter and for them to understand and get everything that they need. So write down this formula, bring it with you in an interview. So that way, when you might get stuck, okay, where do I start off, with the story? You can easily refer back to it.
In life in general and everything, you can use the STAR method. I mean, if you think like you're going to remember that, was it Ron and Jenny on this webinar that said,
Jenny, the microphone is, can you
not,
go?
can you hear me
Good.
now? Sorry, I got too far. Another weakness. But you will remember STAR because you'll remember the story that goes along with it. When we speak to our employers about our candidates, often it's because we were able to really relate with them. And this STAR method really allows us to understand, well, this was a situation and it was a bad situation, but I knew I had to do something. So I couldn't find a manual that gave me the answer. So I went to YouTube and I went to my friends and I went to I finally went out to a forum and found an answer. The action I took was this, and guess what? It finally worked, but not all of it worked. So back to the STAR method, I had to figure out how this last little link didn't work. They're going to remember that the whole process, and that you just didn't go to your manager to ask them, well, how do I do this? I mean, yes, you want to do that, but at the same time, your managers are also looking for somebody who's self-motivated to do
Mhm.
that. So that action piece, STAR is a pretty, I mean, it's been around for years, and it's a great method. Even if you're meeting the new mother-in-law or the new girlfriend's mother or the new boyfriend's mother and family, in that communication method.
Absolutely. And you guys can also use it for things like your technical interview questions and especially your project questions. So, kind of touching a bit on technical interview questions. Usually, this is where I feel candidates are a bit more comfortable. And these questions are normally going to be saved for like that second round of interviews that occur with the hiring manager. So, pro tip from us, y'all, Google has all the technical interview questions out there. You guys once again, use these tools to your benefit. If you're interviewing for a junior web developer position, go to Google and type in technical interview questions for a junior web developer. You can also, and this is kind of something that I've learned recently that I love, you can utilize Chat GPT. Just copy and paste that job description and enter that same prompt. And it's going to give you guys a fantastic list of technical questions that are tailored specifically for that job description. That's kind of my favorite method right now. I even, as an interviewer, I use that a lot of times to help me if I'm not familiar with a job position, or maybe there's some tools on there that I'm not super familiar with. I will copy that job description in there and tell it, hey, give me some interview questions that a recruiter might ask. It's fantastic. It's a great tool to use. When it comes to interviewing technical based questions, I think the key here is really be specific. So understand that when you say, I have intermediate knowledge of JavaScript, that might mean something different to you than it does to me. For me, any knowledge is going to be intermediate because I have zero knowledge. I have zero technical knowledge, experience with JavaScript. So provide some examples that's going to help showcase your skills. Here's kind of a really good example that I like to use, and that's Excel. So when you say, I have basic Excel experience or skills, sometimes this might mean that you know how to go in and add information to cells, but maybe you don't know how to run a simple formula. Or maybe your version of basic is that you know how to do a basic pivot table, but that's not going to be my assumption of basic. So just make sure that we're on the same page by providing those examples so that way we understand your skill set best. Now, moving on to project examples, and this is going to be big, especially for any of my developers. Be specific. That's going to be my first thing. I cannot stress this enough. Don't skimp on the details or be afraid of speaking over a recruiter's head. We might not understand every single thing that you say, but we need to know so that way we can write down notes and provide those to the hiring manager. So firstly, and this is kind of used, once again, going back to that STAR method, set the stage. When you're talking about a project, was this a project you did for school? Was this something that you did personally? And if it was for school, is this something that the teacher gave you an outline of, or like to follow all the way through? Or was it just a guideline and you had to come up with the idea? Next, talk about the purpose of the project. What was the problem that you were trying to solve? And how did you build it? This is a great time for you to cover all those technical pieces, all those great things, the skills that you've been developing. Talk about how you built this. Another thing that I like to sprinkle in and add is, did you run into any issues? What were those issues and how did you solve it? That's really going to show the recruiter that, hey, I have the awareness to say I made a mistake, or I have this issue and this is what I did to try and figure it out. Because y'all, I just started programming in Python, and let me tell you, one little, colon off, and I'm getting syntax errors out the wazoo. So no problem with saying, hey, I had a problem. This is what I had to do to fix it. And then your results. So going back to that STAR method, was it up and running at the end of the project? Was there, did you get an A on the project? Tell us a little bit about the results of it. What was it that maybe the company that wanted that software was really impressed and liked the software, and they were able to get it up and running in a timely fashion. Tell us a little bit though about those results. Then a secret question that a lot of recruiters might ask you afterwards is, if you could go back and change something about it, what would it be and why? The key to this is, like, there's always going to be something that you wanted to change. Maybe you learned a new language since then that would help that program run better, or maybe it's just a new technique that you want to implement. But that's a really great time for you to share, what would you do? Hindsight's 2020. What would you have done differently? I know we're running out of time, y'all, so I'm going to go through this real quickly. Finally, to end it, what questions would you ask a recruiter? I want you guys to utilize this time to ask questions. If you say, I don't have any questions, a recruiter, I'll be honest, we're going to be a little bit disappointed. We want you guys to ask questions. For kind of like a standard example, 2 questions are going to be good. Make them memorable questions. If it's going to be something along the lines of, well, tell me about my day-to-day duties, there's a job description to tell you about that. So a few question examples that you can ask that are really going to stick out is, can you tell me about any projects that the team is working on and how the role that I'm interviewing for would contribute to that? Or maybe how does your company support professional development and continued education for its employees? But definitely make sure you use this time to ask questions. Don't let that be dead air. Okie dokie, y'all. I know I'm 2 minutes over, but I do want to see if there was anybody who had any questions. Now's a great time to take yourself off mute. Jenny, did we have anything in the chat?
We didn't have any questions in the chat yet, but if anyone has some questions, this is a great time to ask this. You know, we're human just like you, and so our purpose though is to really help you be successful, and we want to nurture you and help you in any way we can so that you're successful in your career. And if you have some questions, we're here to help. And if you can't think of something right now, you know, Katie and I are always available. You can email us, and I think that
Yeah. Let me pop this up so that way you guys have our email address. Sorry, I took that off a little too quickly.
So a quick email address to us, you know, send us a question. If you need some one-on-one time, you know, let us know. We're here to support you and so that you're successful along your path.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to practice your interviews,
Yes.
if you guys need maybe a resume review, definitely hit us up. That's a service that we offer absolutely free. So you know, make sure that you're getting a second opinion on those resumes, and it never hurts to practice for your interview. So like Jenny said, we're really just here to help you make sure that you have successful job search. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your time, spending your lunch with us. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and happy Halloween.
Thank you.
Go have a
Bye,
great
y'all.
one. Bye-bye.